think we're live, but
We're
now
live.
we gotta play the intro music.
Are we live?
Roger, we are. Got
Oh,
old
there we
Smokey
are.
on my tail here.
There we
Come
are.
on.
There we
But
are.
we got to act like we got some sense. We actually have somebody on. We have a guest on, our first guest ever.
Absolutely.
And this person is a professional in the field, and he's hanging out with us, lesser thans.
Trying to elevate us. We're climbing. We're elevating ourselves.
We're trying to. We're missing somebody. He'll be on a little bit. He's on probation right now, so he's picking up garbage on the side of the highway.
Yeah.
Big Ned will be on here in a minute.
Together and turn his vest in before he can get his phone back.
Yeah, because there'll be another theft if he takes that vest.
Yes.
And that little stick with a nail on it.
Yeah.
So
we're back. We're back streaming.
Tuesday, baby boy.
Tuesday Hot Rodcast. Man, I look forward to these. It's really fun to engage with the Mechanicsville Nation. And as you said, we have a guest on tonight, a gentleman that I have come to know and work closely with as an instructor on the community college level. This man is an encyclopedia on Hondas, and he's really a knowledgeable technician. Great guy to work with and talk to. I learned a lot from him while I was able to work shoulder to shoulder with him, melding young minds in the education field of the community college system. And we'll get a little bit more background, let him do a little introduction to himself and bring him on here in a minute. We're gonna get a really good perspective, not only from a shop owner and a technician's point of view, but an educator and, like I said, a shop owner on how the Right to Repair Act deeply affects the entire industry, and it stretches beyond just the automotive industry. We'll get a little bit of conversation going on about that and maybe some other things. But I'm looking forward to it.
I miss my Honda Element. Wish they'd bring it back. You said Honda. I love my Honda Element.
Yeah.
My little bread box car. I love that thing.
Yeah. They were cool cars.
It wasn't so much, I drive through and women would just jump onto that car. I had to just get off, ladies.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Get off.
Drive real close to bushes and other cars to rake them off the side.
Yeah. And Pontiac GTO eats your heart out when it comes to Honda Element.
An Element.
It's got the suicide door, so you let those big ladies in. That's how I like them. I'm just saying.
Lends a whole new meaning to scooting somebody up, right?
Oh, that's right. I'd be like, come here, girl.
Yeah.
I used to do that Honda Element. I had to get rid of it though. Then I got a Honda Pilot. I love that. And then, man, this whole family, my whole family's nothing but Honda. Speaking of Honda. So I'll let you bring them on. Is that what you want to do?
Sure.
Wait.
What now?
You said you couldn't wait, and here we are waiting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll bring him on here. We'd like to bring on to the Mechanicsville Hot Rodcast Mr. Grant Swaim.
Imahara. Oh, Swaim.
There he is.
Yeah.
Hey, what's happening? Hey. Another gray beard.
It's been a long time. It used to be all here, and now I just go with a low profile, move a lot faster. Cut the wind resistance down.
Oh yeah, you got the high speed, low drag haircut there.
Yeah. Got the bushy eyebrows. That comes with the old man stuff.
Yeah.
Some turns gray and some turns loose.
Yeah, that's right. True.
That's right. Thank you for coming on. Thank you from the Mechanicsville OG crew and the Mechanicsville Nation for coming on our broadcast and giving us some wisdom on the right to repair and maybe some other things. And we'll just see where the conversation leads us tonight.
Sure. Yeah, when you call or get reached out to me, I'm like, what's a blast in the past? And it says, I never thought of this, kind of parallel universe. I kind of dabble in this when I get ready to ramp up. And you guys, I think I could probably pick up some tips from you guys on. So good to have the opportunity to do this. And so the topic's a little squishy, but we got some stuff we can talk about for sure.
Yeah.
And the right to repair, basically the idea, consumers should have the freedom to choose where they want to get the car worked on, where they want to repair it. They want the independent garage to repair it. They want the dealership to repair it. Even if, as far as getting access to information, buying special tools, all this shouldn't be locked down to just the manufacturer.
Right.
And so that means basically independent repair shops and even the owner, if they want to put the dollars out, should have access to diagnostic information, repair information, diagnostic equipment. All that should be available. And you'll see some manufacturers from the get-go are pretty good at this, and some are not very good at this. Toyota was one of the best. If you want to hear, they really put it out there. It was a fair price, and if you want to buy this scan tool or this particular tool or this information, this price. And some of the ones are like the Europeans, we'll leave it at that. Some of the European brands, some are a bit more difficult. And so the right to repair concept, and there's all legislation there, really started to try to bring in some laws. So, hey, you can't do this you can't lock somebody out, the owner of the car. So
right.
We're kind of going through the pieces of it. One is access to repair. Go ahead.
Before we get too deep into that conversation, give us some background about your career in the automotive industry, Grant.
Yeah, I started building small block Chevys when I was 14 years old. That was the kind of deal where I don't know what was wrong with me, but my dad worked for the post office and didn't really have anybody in my family was building mini bikes when you're young, and next thing you know, we had a hot rod shop at the house. I look back now, and I really thank my marriage. Then we were out there behind the house working on cars, and next thing you know, they decided they would add on to the house and put a garage out there. And it didn't dawn on me years later that was for me. It really didn't. I mean, I don't know why I thought Dad had some stuff out there, and he kicked around, but then it was years later, and it started clicking. So it was kind of a neighborhood hangout. We had always 6 or 8 people out there. And this is back in the day of 55, 57 Chevys and building small block, V8s, all Chevy stuff, Detroit iron. It's like I say, it became the kind of the neighborhood gearhead hangout. We had it there midnight firing off on, can't wait till tomorrow. It's ready to go. Let's light her off right now, And I can tell you that firing order for a small block Chevy when I was 14 years old, I think I still remember 1843657
There you go.
But then I moved over. But so that started with the Detroit iron, and then I didn't go to school because at the time my parents wanted to have a sister and she wanted to be a teacher. They sent her to Appalachian for 4 years. They wanted us to make sure to have a college education if we wanted it. Of course, in automotive, there's no such thing as a college education. In the 70s, there was a diploma. The local community college, do that. Then I hit the ground running. I started working. My first job pulling wrenches was a Honda dealer in High Point, and worked there for quite a while. It's about 2 years out, and I liked Hondas, but I didn't particularly like the dealership environment. And so I pulled out, went independent. And I decided when I went independent, I was going to be pure. You see a lot of guys say I'm a Chevy specialist, and the whole yard's full of everything. But I decided I was going to go pure Honda. and I wasn't going to flinch. And
Yeah.
so we started day one, rented like a 30 by 20 cinder block building, working off the floor, and worked there. Just kept getting bigger properties and bought land out on Wendover. I bought on Wendover in Greensboro, which is a hot property, but when I bought it, it wasn't hot. It was like a mile out of town, and Interstate 40 was kind of like a barrier. And so we about a mile out of town, we bought an acre and a half of land, and it was a good price, and then built on it. And lo and behold, here comes Home Depot and all the, here they come. Next thing you know, somebody wanted, and I run the shop there for well over 10 years, and actually more like 15, but then they come in and kept wanting to, and finally somebody made me a deal I couldn't refuse.
Right.
So, I can move this shop because all my customers are loyal. I can go 2 miles down the road. I don't need to be on what turned out to be a busy road. So that time I had 2 employees been there for about the whole time. And I said, I tell you what, I got offered to sell the property, and I'll sell into business. We need to do something with it. Said, if you guys want to take and run with it, I get them like an asset sale. I didn't try to make, they've been there since day one. So I sold them the business and all the inventory, and they moved, and then I sold the business, and that's when I got into teaching. That's when I run into you, as I'd sold my shop, and then they went on, and to this day, they made it a pure Honda shop. I've told them many times, I'm proud of you. You didn't flinch either. But they'd moved a shop and outgrow it and rent another shop, and then they bought some land up towards the airport in Greensboro, and 3 acres, and built on it many, many, many years ago. It's nice. It's like I say, like 18 bays and all air conditioning in the back. And when the day they finished building it, before they opened up, and they called over, they give me a key to the place. I said, man, it's pretty good. So I can.
Nice.
I've got my own in a place I can go over there and play. Pretty much, I try to stay there during business hours, but on weekends I got the whole place to myself.
Yeah.
And eventually got into actually when I sold the business, I tried to wrap this up pretty quick, but so I started Honda specific training. That's like travel all around. Right. And that got old after a while. And so I went, and the local school I went to originally had an opening. And I went down there and threw my hat in the ring and got in as a teacher, instructor at the school I went to locally. And then I met you up at Forsyth, right, which is just 20 miles that way. So then I got the community college system and spent some time there, and ultimately retired from that, and then I created the Gearhead School, all the online content school, because it's a name scares some people. They say school, and they say, I don't want, they think it's a brick and mortar. And so it's kind of been a double-edged sword. It came to one night, and I said, well, if school is a domain name, I'm going to go for it. And .school is a domain name. So I said, Gearhead.school kind of works. Yeah. But, a lot of times talking to somebody and you see that look like, oh, you're going to try to get me to sign up and come to a school. You're off you pick up on that. So yeah. So I've been doing that a long, long time, and it's all online. And like today, just got word I'm going to do a struck for half a day here in North Carolina. We have the Automotive Service and Technician Association have a conference in Raleigh. And that's coming in about 3 months. And I'll do a half a day with the apprentice. I'll be actually doing their apprenticeship program where the shop owners come in to do the high-end training, and they bring their apprentices, and I'll take them and have them for 4 hours. Yeah. So it's good. I get to do what I get to help people with what I have in my head, and then pass this knowledge through like Gearhead Schools online. But then I also do, like I say, I can do face-to-face training. In this case, with a local trade association.
Well, that was one thing that stuck out to us when we kicked off Mechanicsville was that, there was a lack of, there was a lot of knowledge out there whenever we would go to these car shows and drag races and see people that we've been associated with for years, but they're all old and gray bearded like we are. And we were not essentially passing on the passion or the knowledge into a younger generation. Mm-hmm. And that's really one of the heartbeat tenets of why we kicked off Mechanicsville. And I know that you and I, working together, really raised an education level for SciTech with that initial program. I mean, we really ratcheted things up there to turn it into the program that it is. One thing is to leave a foundation that somebody can make something better in the future. And I think we were able to do that. And I really enjoyed my time working with you, and
Appreciate that.
I think we left a good brick in the foundation to carry on and become a better program.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always impressed with some of the things that I learned about you, specifically with your when you were traveling all over the United States, training, doing your Honda training, and now I'm really encouraged that you've got this gearhead school. We'd like to, and we'll discuss more of this later, but we'll tell the Mechanicsville Nation right now that in the future we're going to look to feature the gearhead school, so you'll get to like really blow that out and really get information out there for you. And
I look forward to contributing any way I can. Maybe a little short topic we need to get a little deeper into, and you can bring me on, not for the, or I can be a technical assistant to gather information on certain topic that I may have already in my libraries, information on my terabytes of stuff down here on my tower, and but we're all pulling rope in the same direction. So I think the three of us might be a dangerous combination there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But anyway, I really appreciate all that information that you provided the nation here, and Ash keeps popping up the website for the Gearhead School. Please check on that. Get all that information that you're hungry for can be found there, and Grant, I know, will impart some great knowledge as far as learning how to become a technician and a quality technician.
Yep.
But in parts of how to do that goes back to the topic that we're going to talk about tonight, which is the Right to Repair Act.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand the far-ranging aspect of not having access to information, tools, and parts that come along with the knowledge hoarding that some of the dealership, or well, not necessarily dealerships, but car manufacturers particularly do with their that hoarding that they do of the information. And that's one thing that the Right to Repair Act, when it got kicked off, was trying to open up basically those doors and access that information.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of pieces here, and some of it's even just access to information in addition to access to parts. And so the parts they start looking at is, you say some manufacturers are really, really support aftermarket. Here's a fair price. We're not going to beat you up, because bottom line is the dealership service departments cannot service the cars in the country, period. Mm-hmm. If you start looking at the facts, I think about 20% of the repair work's done in dealership and 80% is in the aftermarket.
Yes.
So if they could make us go away, or if we went away tomorrow, this country would come to a standstill. There'd be, people like doomsday walking around riding bicycles because all the cars would be. So
the logistics is not there.
And I think the dealers have decided, many years ago, they weren't that big on the service. They just they had to service as kind of like a necessary evil. We had to service a car to get the franchise, and we sell cars, and that's where the money was. And a lot of them years ago started saying, hey, we got to have a service department. And, like locally, probably some dealers that historically have been strong on service, and some that don't seem to be.
Right.
But more and more of them are starting to realize, why not? So they're getting more and more aggressive on that. But bottom line is about 80% or so, a little less maybe now, go to the aftermarket. And so we start looking at some of the stuff that getting access to is repair information. Right now, you can go to every manufacturer has. The sources on that is like they'll have a page for you to buy tools, you can buy access. A lot of training now is available. You can get a service. Toyota is one of the best probably for helping aftermarket. You can buy about a month. You can buy access to Toyota's training, which is not everything you get is a dealer's tech, but you get a bunch. You can you can buy their you can buy their scan tool, you can buy their software and put on your scan tool. So now I have access to repair information that somebody's got to pay for. But if you, in my case, worked on one brand, so it's a no-brainer. But if you worked on 2 or 3 brands, as a shop owner or as a car owner, you got to decide, so what's going to cost me to get access to the manufacturer's training or scan tool software, and is that going to work for me? So it's out there if you want to get it.
Well,
And of course, now the consumers can choose which shop they want to go to. It's part of the right to repair. Is that you should be able to take whatever car you got and go to an independent garage if that's what you want to do. And like I say, if you've done your homework and you feel like this garage seems like they fit, they appear to have the tools and the know-how, then you should be able to do that. And also access to parts. You should be able to. The dealer manufacturer can't just say you can't get this part. They can't use that against you. So they should have access to their scan tool, that stuff. If you want to pay for it, access to the parts. And the whole idea is that the higher ups decide you need to protect the independent aftermarket. Because if we stop being here tomorrow, it'd be, like I say, a doomsday. 80% of the cars going through the independents, so you can't make them go away. We couldn't function on that. And so I'll go through a little quick history on this. This is not steadfast written in the federal law per se, but this is some steps that's gone through the motor vehicles owner's right to repair. They started chatting around 2001, and a lot of things kind of tried to work, but from 2001, 2008, nothing really happened. There was a lot of chatter and some things would flare up and they'd calm back down. But in 2012, Massachusetts, on a state level, their legislator in Massachusetts come up with a right to repair bill, which requires manufacturers to provide vehicle owners and independent repair shops with access to the same diagnostic and repair information that the dealer has. It can't be behind the wall. If you're willing to pay a fair market price, you should have access to it, and also maybe entry level like scan tools. And so that was then here again, if you can specialize in one brand, it's a no-brainer. You're gonna spend the money to do that. Of course, as we all know, there are scan tools that do fairly good job on a lot of brands, but they don't go as deep as an OEM level software as far as the amount of data you get. And the bidirectional control where I can stand there and say, roll the window up on the left front and roll it down. That way I know, if a window won't work, if I can make it work with the scan tools, not the window motor, because I just saw it come up. But if I didn't have that, I'd have to pull a door panel off and jump it with some wires and make it work.
Well, that's what I was going to allude to, is that you and I were in a unique situation as we saw the progression. We observed the real-time progression of going to, you talk about when you were 14 years old, and myself likewise, working on small block Chevrolets, push rod engines with no sensors on them whatsoever. And, we kid about it all the time. You're like Yoda over there doing Jedi speak with a screwdriver on a idle mixture screw, and you're, but we did it. And then we saw the first iteration of onboard diagnostics with the first electronically controlled fuel injection systems. Then it progressed to the OBD2, and then it progressed to CAN and then bus. And you've, as a technician, being in the bay, in the trenches, you've had to try to keep up with this technology and not be left out in the cold. I don't know what actually kicked it off in Massachusetts, but that seems to be like ground zero for the Right to Repair Act. And when they left 2012, they had an agreement among the manufacturers that says, okay, we'll loosen the strings on some of this information and so on and so forth. But what has really ratcheted up the movement toward legislation is the fact that some of those some of those manufacturers have like pulled back and said, well, that was just an agreement. That wasn't holding us to anything.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating because you think that somewhere along the line it could just be really like be made to happen. Because here's the thing of it is 80% repair work's done outside the dealership, and it's just why are you putting all this grief on? If I don't want to take my car to the independent side is without spending bukus of money on every model. I mean, if you want to go buy an OEM level scan tool and buy into their training, let them offer it and their software, but that's just one brand. And that's what drove me really kind of stick with one brand, is it made it where I could do more, be more like a dealer. But most towns, a small town, and most shops just aren't going to go that deep on one brand. You're starting to see more like some guys do, like BMW or different brands, where you see more than you used to, But I feel for the guys that work on everything that rolls in the door, But being one brand, you see all kinds of things in the mail sees, and you know it's a pattern failure, and you can fix it, or not to worry about it, and make little tools. And so I've liked being a specialist myself. But it'd be the motoring public would be better off if it'd be cheaper for everybody. Like I say, because if I don't want to get too deep in one brand, I can afford to buy 5 different brands worth of stuff to be good at all of them. But so there's a smattering of different types of shops, and you start to see more and more that will go on, like maybe the Europeans and the Asians do them similar, but not totally similar. So that's a trend, and I think going into the future, it's probably going to be even tougher and tougher to do everything. Probably it's just going to continue to iterate, and because a lot of things are formalized, but like OBD2 or onboard diagnostics won't be past the second generation. But still, a lot of people do things differently, and so I find it's a good business model to go with.
Well, it's progressing to the gathering of what they're deeming as intellectual information, so that they can have access to hold that and then sell it in the free market. One of the instances that has really drawn a lot of ire from some of the outside sources that want the Right to Repair Act to kind of be ratcheted up is the fact that the big three, and when I reference the big three, I'm talking about General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, sell this information, and insurance companies have bought this information, and they use the driving habits of the computer that collects the information on board.
Right.
They buy that information, and then they adjust their insurance rates based on their driving habits.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, unbeknownst to the insured party, until they get a bill, and then they're wondering why their insurance is so high. Another thing that has become very relevant is the whole sticking point with John Deere in their agricultural division. John Deere made a lot of stuff priority, and I think with a GPS or a satellite unit in some tractors that they sold in the past couple of years, and that system failed system-wide. It wasn't just on one tractor, but it failed system-wide, and without access to information and tools or data, these farmers' tractors are stuck in the field and they can't make a living. And
it's almost like you're buying a vehicle and you're paying a subscription rate to run the vehicle. It's tied to the software that runs the vehicle.
yes, sir.
And that gets pretty bizarre. Yeah. And I just glanced over some more notes about like I said, data privacy too, because they know everything. They know where you go, how long the car is sitting, and yeah, this thing can go off in a lot of different directions.
Yeah, and that's what I don't think some people realize, and they just shrug their shoulders and say, "Oh, well, cars are so expensive to repair these days, and oh, parts cost so much. What difference does it make?" Well, they don't. One thing that I find that people are not associating this rock being thrown in the pond is that those ripples reach out far and wide. They go to the edge of the pond. They don't just stop. You're talking about if the automotive industry, if it does get limited in some capacity, the ability to research information and data, tools, and aftermarket parts, then that opens up possibilities that you going down to Lowe's and picking up a washer to fix a leak in your mowing faucet.
Right.
You know, if they decide to hoard that information or those parts, that is going to stop the DIY aspect of going to Lowe's or Home Depot and picking up a small part to go fix your faucet or your drain or your water heater,
Right.
anything like that. So that's why it's really important. And I know Ash has shared this before, and before we're done here, I hope he can share the address for the Right to Repair Act.
Yeah, it's out there. I'm sitting there looking. Well, HR 1566 is the last one up. It's just probably the strongest and one that's going to probably be better to stick is the one that basically just was introduced in this week, February 25th, 2025. Is this kind of the last iteration, which seems to have a lot of leg. I mean, it's HR. It's called HR 1566, and it just come out in February this year. And it's, I'm just going through looking at it. It's getting a lot of people in the Congress and Senate looking at it and speaking about it. But it, you just got to wrangle this in because say it could go to bad places where who thought you would even, now the idea is, you and I are big car guys. When we buy a car, we want to keep it for a long time and have memories of it. We hate to, if you got to give it away or sell it, we just, like the lose part. But now people are, like want to subscribe to a car. I want to subscribe to this car for 2 years and somebody else can have it, or I'll subscribe to it. I'll drive it from sunrise to noon and somebody else can have it, in the afternoon. That's what's going to come down to is you have a car somewhere in a deposit in a lot somewhere close by and you live in a neighborhood, you run around the corner and subscribe to a car for weekdays, Monday through Friday from 8 to 12 and it's yours.
Yeah.
And that's just bizarre, We're kind of folks, and a lot of people that we run with, they buy a car and keep it for the rest of their life, or they want to buy a car and keep it and put it in the barn, tow a tarp, and get another car. They collect them and want to keep them a certain kind. But now, some people is transportation. And then if I can't buy the whole car, I'll buy a car, Monday through Friday from 8 to 3. Yeah. And that's where it's going.
Yeah. And, it's encouraging to see the progression of the language in these bills. And I'm looking right now that currently to date, and the one that I think this time last year, Colorado was the latest state. There are actually 6 states that have enacted right to repair acts that have actually signed it into law. Massachusetts is still in court over the agreement that they had previously in 2012, but they have signed a law. They're just waiting on the automotive companies to recognize that law. New York has enacted a digital fair repair act that just covers consumer electronics. That is a step in the right direction, but it needs, it is going to have to encompass more than just a cell phone or a laptop. Colorado enacted the consumer right to repair agricultural equipment, which includes farming equipment, and another law for consumer electronics. Minnesota passed one of the broadest right to repair acts or laws, include home appliances. California has enacted a right to repair act for electronics and appliances, as well as powered wheelchairs. Oregon is adopting one for consumer electronics. I think that's links in the chain that will continue to grow and a move in the right direction. And some of those states are pretty liberal states to want to follow up with the ability for someone to do things like this, as far as independent garage owners or the DIY aspect of it.
And one more little twist on service information. It says now, the amount of information you need, most of them not be printed, but like right now to subscribe to the OEM level service information. I just had this handy in front of me. I'm kind of picking two people I know is going to be far into the spectrum, like Toyota. You can buy the OEM service information, $25 for 2 days, $95 for a month, or $505 for the entire year. Now you can use it as a shop and look it up every day, every hour, everything in the Toyota, any car make model within the Toyota brand. That's the same service information that the dealership uses. Compare that to BMW. 1 day is $32, a month $270, a year is $2,700.
Yeah.
So a year of Toyota is $505, a year of BMW is $2,700. So you got to want to really love that brand to pay that high information, and then you don't really know the quality of the information. I mean, that's all going to be good as OEM, but then you may compare that. I think with Toyota, you're also getting a subscription to their software for the scan tool, and you got to look deeper to compare how much information at that OEM level are you getting on the brand.
Right.
But you're looking at a year, $505 for Toyota versus $2,700 for BMW. You can see it's a broad range of what you're going to. All the OEMs are taking a different approach. So some say, well, I've already created this content for the dealership network. Do I really need to try to make a killing by selling an independent, or I could put a nominal price on there? I mean, it's worth something. But is one worth 5 times more than the other? So
yeah.
And I actually think it's important when you get ready to buy a car that you're going to keep for 10 or 15 years. That's another selling point, another thing to consider. Particularly if you're a do-it-yourselfer kind. If I'm going to maintain my own car, how easy is it going to be to get hold of OEM information? How much it's going to cost me, or is it available low-end, high-end? I'm going to have to pay $200 just to log in for, a month to learn about my car, or it's going to cost me $95 from somebody So all it's available, there's the sources on that you can see the charts, but it reflects all through maintaining the car, buying the parts, and then buying service information. You got to take the whole thing in, and you'll find out, which manufacturers really embrace their customers, or it's a different philosophy.
Right.
A manufacturer that wants you to enjoy the brand, be able to, if you want to work on it yourself and do stuff, we want to sell you parts. We like to make sure you get good information at a fair price so you can fix it right. Then there's some brands that tend to be, they don't particularly want you doing that. So there's a higher barrier of entry, and you should consider that when you purchase a car. You need to know, if you're the kind of person who wants to get under the hood, you need to do your homework.
Because that is as broad as it is long, that access to that information. And, I was even speaking with a young man today that works on a smattering of different brands, and he was talking about the cost of his subscription for his particular scan tool, and that if he doesn't keep up with that subscription to the peripherals on it, that it becomes just a glorified voltage tester and code reader is basically all it is. And he's invested thousands of dollars in this scan tool, and then layering on the subscription. It can be, I can see where it could be quite maddening for a technician today to try to turn hours.
And the world's going towards that now, not just automotive, everywhere. They have a recurring payment to do something. Minuscule things to big things, and it gets to be a little annoying after a while that if you don't put. But yeah, that's true. Scan tool, service information access. You could buy a piece of hardware, but it's going to be obsolete. The software that runs the hardware is going to be obsoleted in a year and a half unless some of them actually, they make the money off subscriptions by selling the subscription to the software that runs it, not the initial purchase of the item, whatever it may be, is the software to run it and the subscription to run it.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're talking about. I've written some articles in the last 6 months about that.
And you may know the answer to this question. I know that when I was most heavily involved in the automotive industry, that the automakers were designing about 5 years out. The technology is moving so fast, that window of design has it shrunk or has it lengthened?
I think things are changing so fast that you don't have the luxury of, like I say, you're back. There are many years there in the 60s and 70s where the engine didn't change much for 10, 12, 15 years in the displacement. I mean, the same engine. And then we've got a fuel injection. It kind of started iterating, but pretty, still not like today. And now you could be caught up, if you were all trained up today, even if it's on one brand, and then a year later you're not. You're 90% what you need to be. Now you have to, and that's one thing I tell people get in the industry. If you're not into lifelong learning, you're getting in the wrong industry. Mm-hmm. It's not like, you go to school 2 years, get a associate degree, and you're good to go. You're treading water. You're treading water on the day one. What when you come out of school, probably still not going to be really where you need to be fully anyway, but you'll be okay. But if you're not the person willing to do on your long training, upgrade training, you got to invest yourself, or you'll, like you say, you'll slowly become obsolete.
Right.
And you'll be the old man in the shop that can't do anything. And the next thing you know, you're carrying out trash and sweeping the floor, and it is crazy how fast. And you start seeing. I remember Nobody 2 came out like, well, this is like rocket ship stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, that's nothing. Now we're looking at ports and different networks and different speeds, and you have to look at the network layout on the car. When plug in here, I can get to that, and it's just on and on and on. Funny, back when there were a point in time using that when the exhaust is a big deal. Now you check the exhaust pipe and you got to tweak on the screw to get that carbon dioxide just right. Yeah, that's not even on the radar screen anymore.
Yeah, no.
Oh boy, we thought back at the at the beginning when you had to sniff it for the Arctic carbons and carbon dioxide, and
right,
get that to pass. Man, this is high end stuff.
Yeah.
No, we didn't know what was coming, did we?
No, I had no clue. I mean, I was out. I felt like I was running on a treadmill, trying to get caught up with OBD2. Because we were in a unique situation, or at least I found myself in a unique situation in that I was learning the technology, adapting to the technology, and trying to impart knowledge on eager new technicians. Let's see, we got a comment there. Are car makers already?
I know you got bad eyes.
Yeah.
I'll read it. No problem.
Yeah, go ahead. Hit me.
Carol Knight. I hope I'm saying that right, brother. Are car makers already skirting this by treating things like the transmission as a sealed system where you cannot buy a $10 seal to fix it? You can only buy the whole transmission for big money.
I think the concept of a sealed transmission, not so much that the seal may fail, is that the thing is so complex that it's getting close to impossible to build them in the field anymore. You kick a transmission shifts gears 10 times, and the setup and the special tools, and you build this thing and you're off. They're very, very difficult. Now, the transmission shop's been doing this since day one, and they evolve with it, but most manufacturers will not build a transmission in the field. No. It's under warranty, like in Honda. If you had automatic transmission problems, you called in, got the okay, you pulled it, and they sent a new one in the crate. You set this back in the crate. And the engineers want it back just for one reason, to see what failed. They're not going to try to fix it. Even there's no reman in the OEM network. You got new transmissions.
Yeah, and it's just based on the shop that specializes on a transmission, or the not the engine itself, but the drivetrain, the drive axle, and that aspect. And and Grant mentioned about a transmission that changes gears 10 times. Well, Nissan has one that's variable. It's constantly variable, so it changes. It can change gears infinite amounts of times, and as he was alluding to, you can be off a millimeter in some aspects, and the flow rate be wrong on a particular solenoid, and the whole transmission just doesn't operate correctly.
I think more to his point, though, he was saying that instead of I guess submitting to the Right Repair Act, saying that you have to give consumers, I think he's trying to say that you think they'll try to skirt around it by saying it's a sealed system. We really can't. You got to turn the whole thing in. I think to his point.
Well, you can say it's a sealed system, meaning that they don't really want you fixing it, but you can dive in there. But you can buy some external seals and things like that. You can even buy. Yeah. The people in the industry may still try to do it, but you notice when I'm a kid and young to them now, you don't see as many transmission shops as you used to. And you ride around town, you used to see an automatic transmission shop on half a dozen corners in any given town. But now they're basically family. They're kind of slowly going away. Nobody probably. That's my observation. Somebody wants to come up and say, "I want to be an automatic transmission guy and start from scratch and just build and have an automatic transmission." A lot of them are passed down generationally. The father had it, and they worked a little, and they could still make a living on turbo-hydromatics. A lot of less complicated transmissions that they've done a bunch of them. But at some point in time, it'll get to where it's going to get tougher and tougher slog, in my opinion, going in the next 10, 15 years, and building as the new transmissions come out that maybe you can't even get that part. They say we don't build it. We don't even make it because we don't. The manufacturer will not build it. In Honda doesn't build automatic transmission in the Honda dealership. And I worked at Honda for quite a while. If a car came in with a transmission problem, you determined it was, you pulled it, they sent you a brand new one, and this one went in the crate, and if you didn't take anything off the transmission, or they wouldn't take it back as a core charge, because the engineer didn't want you monkeying with it. He wanted to see the transmission pristine. And the only reason they wanted it back is to find out what went wrong, so they can upgrade the next transmission, but they would not rebuild that and sell it. So it's just one thing on this, just going to where it's not feasible as a rule, unless you're a third generation transmission shop and you've got a lot of knowledge behind you and a lot of stuff paid for. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend a young person starting off today starting an automatic transmission rebuild shop. That would be a tough, long slog.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe there's if they do this and then everything goes electric vehicle, there's going to be a renaissance of classic cars. Yeah. Because everybody wants to be able to do their stuff. So the next thing you know, there might be some transmission shops open up.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we're getting at about We're about almost
700 R4s are us. Yeah.
we're at 50 minutes now. Let's promote Gear School. Gearheads.school. There we go.
Gearhead.school.
Yeah, I got pulled up here. I'll share the screen. 21st century, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
First and foremost, we're not a brick and mortar school. That scares. I thought it was a cool name. When I was going to do this, I woke up in the middle of the night, I just woke up one morning and I said, if dot school is the domain name, I'm going to get it. You know, if Gearhead.school is where I'm going to get it. So actually, school in a domain name, I think it's kind of cool because Gearhead.school. But like I said, this is all online, and I cater at the essentials. So that pretty much your audience is. I'm not trying to do the high-end stuff, but there's, like I cover, and I know Eddie appreciate this, like fastener identification. You know, if you can't, I tell people, if you can't identify a fastener in your shop, somebody's riding to town. You know, you're going to take one and go to town, so I want one of these. You know, we'll do diameter, pitch, and the tensile strength. You know, all you need is a digital caliper and a thread pitch gauge, and you can call up and have them deliver one to you.
Right.
So we cover all, you know, thread fasteners. We get into all your fluid. You know, each fluid in the car has, and it's real granulated. So there's one whole chapter on brake fluid, one chapter on antifreeze, one chapter on motor oil, and automatic transmission fluid, and manual transmission fluid, and bolt identification, metric bolt identification, standard. And we get into electrical. We actually have about 15 lessons, and my style is, you know, real. One on the basic circuit, then they get into parallel circuits. Each one is a different read, so it's not like you can jump in there and you say, I want to go over here and do this lesson. That stands alone. You don't have to take anything in order. And so we're using it, have individuals that sign up for it, and also, and we're connected in the North Carolina, it used to be Independent Garage Owners North Carolina, and now it's Automotive Service Technology Association, which is a North Carolina-based shop. So, you know, we have like 400 in there. And I do a lot. I'll be speaking this fall at their conference. I'll have a half a day with the garage owners show up with all their season garages, all their season techs, and they got the junior, they got the apprentices with them. So I'll be taking the apprentices for 4 hours. And when they leave, I'll give them 6 months access to this program so they don't have to take notes. When I'm covering stuff, it said, don't put your pens down, just listen to me because you're getting the whole program when you leave. Right. So, you know, I have a lot of avenues that I'm just trying to help. I see ones come out that they can see it in their eye when you talk to them and go to like car and coffees, and these guys are on, they want to, and I'm thinking, man, I want you to be excited, but you really don't understand how deep this pool is you get ready to jump into.
Yeah.
And so I've tried to give them all the stuff to keep them out of trouble.
Yeah.
And encourage them, you know, you're going to have to commit to some education, even, and it's lifelong learning. You just don't go to school for 2 years and then go to industry and work. You know, you're going to be going lifelong learning. You're going to be constantly, you know, going to, and there's a lot of stuff available through the aftermarkets that have some, you know, online training you can do, or continual face-to-face training, but you're going to have to, each year you got to put down a training schedule. Here's what I want to do this year. I got to find where I can get it. You know, I need to beef up on this or this or this. Because as soon as you quit turning, as soon as you quit training, you start becoming obsolete. Mm-hmm. And then 5 years later, the slippery slope, and all the good tickets go to somebody else because you haven't done that. You're not familiar with it. And so you just don't go in there and, you know, go to school and you're called up to your associate degree and you go to school and you're good for this. You know, you never quit. It's like swimming. If you stop swimming, you can't tread water. You're gonna, if you don't keep going, educating and taking on the new stuff coming out, next thing you know, you're gonna find, you know, you're starting to sink in the pecking order of the garage.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think that is in some ways, the automotive industry has failed the youth. Is they have gotten away from the apprenticeship program. And there are a few places that still kind of adhere to an apprenticeship program, but those are few and far between. You know, you talked about it earlier about a transmission shop. you had generational knowledge that was passed down because it was a family-owned business, and that started with that wealth of knowledge, and then each successive generation added to that wealth of knowledge that got passed down. And I think the automotive industry in the United States really missed the mark on that in not bringing on and supporting, really grappling with an apprenticeship program where they put a young person with a seasoned veteran technician to bring them along and give them the good established habits to continue to seek after that knowledge, to continue to better themselves and make a better technician across the board.
Yep. And I'd also say, you can go to a 2-year associate degree at a community college, and that can be it can later on be used if you want to go for higher education, but you can do it in half a day. Eddie and I have done it. You can get them generally morning class or afternoon class. But, next thing you know, you got fairly light breaks between semesters, and it's very doable. Now, you're going to have to hit half a day, and it's just something, if you don't commit on the front end, it's going to be a tough slog if you try to pull it off without doing that. And if you go get a job and you find out, you explain to the guy, look, I'm going to school, I'm at 8 to 12, I'll be here 12:30 or so, I'll work the close and whatever. Don't let anybody try to derail you, because the person does not get in the best interest. If you say, well, can you drop out one semester, and that's not your friend. And so you need to, it's nice if you get that, you just got to get that knocked out as soon as you can. And then if you're already in the business, you can see if you can pick up on some night classes. Some of them don't have, some have some, all community colleges don't offer a full slate at night. Some do.
Right.
It's a long slog going at night. But it's somewhere you just really need to commit to as much education as you can before you go in. And that's why I'd like to say in my course, it covers all the essentials, keep from tearing stuff up, putting the wrong fluid in the car, breaking off bolts, basic electrical, and keep you, that's going to keep you from getting in trouble for the most part. But you don't have to commit over a series of a career. You're going to have to commit to training, or you're going to be the guy in the shop that can't fix anything. That's not a good person to be. You don't be the old man in the shop that quit going to school or didn't go to school, and then you're the oil change guy all of a sudden. You went from oil change to and you're back to the oil change guy again.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You'd start in the oil change pit, and then get a couple of semesters of education under your belt, and then you get hamstring because you're trying to fill in, thinking you're doing something good for the boss or the service writer, your favorite service writer, and the next thing you know, you're back in the oil pit, changing oil, and eating grime out from underneath the car. But it's definitely worth the investment. And I applaud you. Mechanicsville Nation applauds you for taking this on and passing this information along. And I know for myself, and hopefully I speak for Ash and Stu, that we support you 100%. We're going to feature the school and let you talk as long as you want on a future date. Right. For the channel, and I really appreciate your time that you've taken out today.
I appreciate the opportunity. It's how we hadn't seen each other in years, and then next thing you know, Eddie Shoefield. I know, yeah, I know that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, this is when we turn it over to Ash.
All right.
He's usually the pilot. He's gonna pull the levers back and land this jewel.
Yeah, it's about time to close the door on the old garage down here in Mechanicsville. It's getting late, and I got to take my, incontinence pills and take my fiber.
Yeah.
Free Big Med. He's
right.
still doing probation, burning all those houses down.
Yeah, man.
Poor guy. So check us out here. Mechanicsville@gmail.com. If you got any questions or anything, check out our semi-new Facebook page. Just, go to Facebook, look up The Mechanicsville. And now, this week, we finally got an official, proper website. You go to theMechanicsville.com. It doesn't take you to the YouTube channel now anymore. It goes straight to the website where everything Mechanicsville, everything to do with the three of us is in it. You can message us from there now. You just write to us.
Yeah.
And if you got any questions, you need advice, you need a pep talk, you need send us pictures of your wife. No, I'm sorry, it's a different website.
Send them to Eddie, right?
Send them to Eddie. He needs them. Poor guy. He can't even read nowadays. He's like, what's that say? So, yeah, check us out at Mechanicsville.com. We have affiliate links there. There's affiliate links down in the description below. There's merchandise you can buy there from Amazon, from Spreadshirt. We even have like the crew boys, the crew members' favorite pick right now on the website. We can do playlists. It's pretty much everything we stand for now at theMechanicsville.com. And getting suggestions, advice, anything like that. Thank you so much, Grant, for coming on. We actually, it's nice to have an expert on here. Well, we got an expert. We got a residential expert over there, but
yeah, once you get
he knows what he's talking about. Yeah. Big man, you're probably watching and too scared to log in, but that's okay. It's all right. I know your probationary officer will probably be like, "What are you doing your uniform for?"
Yeah, we'll get him freed.
Yeah. If you want to be a guest, we'd love to have a guest on, and you don't have to even be an expert or anything. You just come on and shoot the crap with us, or talk about your car, or talk about how you used to work on cars. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. If you want us to feature your car or feature your garage, reach out to us. Contact us through the website. We'll schedule it and meet up with you. Feature your car and or your shop. We'd love to see you. We love to touch base with the Mechanicsville Nation. We like to work with you guys. If you're stuck on a project, if you need help, you've experienced or you're up against something that you've never experienced before, reach out to us. We'll see if we can get you back on the right track and get you going.
Mm-hmm. You hit the little contact that goes straight to our phones. When you log in on your phone, it should come up with a little question, but this little box down here, you click it. You have a question, it goes to us. It's the best way to get in contact with us now. So, that's my dirty hat. That's funny. And as you banged on that anyway, thank y'all for watching. I think me and Kamesh are going to have a little after party meeting, I guess, as we always do. We'll be back. Yeah, just hang out. We'll be back next Tuesday with maybe something funny to talk about. I don't know. This rain this week kind of is hindering things. Oh, well, we'll talk about it next week, about the convention we're going to. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Later, y'all.
Free the Vega.